Greetings and welcome to the Fighting Dirty Unplugged, episode number 1, Arkham Horror, the living card game.
All right, man, we had some free time today, so I called Matt up, and I've been trying to get him to play this game for a while, and there was no excuse today because my family was gone. So I called you up, I said, hey, come on over. It's a free day. You made your way over. Finally, it took you an eternity to get here, but you got here. So you got here. I said, "Hey, let's try this out. You know, we can play Arkham Horror. We can play something else." And you go, "You know what? Let's play it." So we got it out. I reset the decks. I was in the middle of a campaign, but I was so excited. I was like, "You know what? Forget that. I'm starting over. I'm gonna get Matt in here." And we started the core campaign again. And what did you think of it? I know you didn't really have a lot of expectations. You probably saw me play this 2 years ago when it came out at Gen Con, and I fell in love with it and picked it up immediately. And I haven't really had anyone except a buddy who we were kind of in the middle of a campaign with, but that kind of fell through. So I wanted to kind of get you to try the game out and see if I could get the Arkham Horror bug in your ear or butt.
Well, and with the Fighting Dirty Unplugged, the idea here is we're looking for initial quick reactions, and we're just trying to do it greasy and live, and so that's what we're doing here. So my initial hot take reaction as we have just finished the game, I absolutely loved this. Having played Arkham Horror, the board game, having played Eldritch, having played Mansions of Madness, all of those games, this was an amazing experience, and I love this in a different way than those games, because those games are very heavy with figures and chits and components and cards. This is Arkham Horror, like pick up and play anywhere you want to go, and you can set it up and play very quickly and get that same experience, and I adore that about this. So I was apprehensive because, a couple years ago I just felt like it had reached just a saturation point with all the Cthulhu type games, the Mythos, the H.P. Lovecraft games. It felt a little saturated, so when this game came out, I was just like, another one. It was worth the wait for me. I was blown away. It's been a great experience thus far.
So I don't know if you remember a couple podcasts back, so about half a year ago, I told you that I felt like this is my favorite game of the Arkham series now, and now that you've played it, do you kind of understand where I'm coming from? Like from playing, Mansions, Eldritch, Arkham, and now this. Do you see how I could say that? And I know a lot of people are saying right now it's like Mansions of Madness. That's like where it's at. But do you see how me personally, like being your friend for the longest time, like why this one is my favorite?
Well, this one is heavier than Mansions. I feel like it's a lot heavier, and this one is way more popular. When I watch Paradise.
Okay.
They do a top 10 every month, and Arkham has been on it for like 2 years straight.
Oh, really?
And that's like a culmination of things that he used to weigh that. And Mansions of Madness hasn't been on it in forever.
Is it like his personal top 10?
He uses like data tracking from Board Game Geek and a variety of other things, and he has some kind of his own scale that he uses for trafficking those things. And so Arkham's been on there for the longest time now, so it's definitely hot. And yes, I definitely see what you're saying. I don't know, because I've only played, just the intro campaign where I rank this on all of them between all the games that I love and play, and they're not just the Fantasy Flight ones. Like, I really like the Pandemic Cthulhu game, too. Totally different and lighter, but still really good. So where does this one rank? I'm not yet going to say, but it's up there, and it's definitely better than the board game. The Arkham Horror board game.
Okay,
This is like, we set up and play this in a few minutes, and I got just as good, or I would say even better experience in that, whatever it took us to play, hour and a half or something like that, than a 3 to 4 hour experience, because that game's just kind of muddy and mucky, and I love it because there's a lot of nostalgia and stuff involved with it, and it opened the door to this world for me. So I'm very fond of that. I hardly probably will ever play that game again because, Eldritch Horror just really replaced it, and it's a smoother, cleaner game than that. And I love playing Mansions of Madness, but I could see how I would probably even prefer to play this one. It's a different experience for sure. I love the app integration in Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, but this was heavier, faster, and I felt like we connected more
Yeah.
between the two of us playing the game, and I think just for some reason, adding the app kind of there's a little bit of a disconnect there. I don't know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I just
No, I do.
so thus far, just blown away. It's a beautiful game. Fantasy Flight knocked it out of the park. I'm almost sad that I waited this long, but it was almost it was worth the wait because it's been so satisfying, and that's all I've wanted. I just wanted it to be really good, and having been burned here and there on some Cthulhu type games, I love it. It's great. So this game, they just killed it. Arkham Horror, the living card game, very good. It might be the best living card game going. From what I've played, and we're playing Legends of the Five Rings. I've played a little Netrunner, dabbled in a lot of these games. This one, it feels so good when you're playing it. Right. So smooth and easy, and the combos just, I'm blown away.
So how did you feel about the game itself? How did you feel the mechanics work? Do you feel like it was smooth? Do you feel like anything was kind of janky? Do you feel like everything was set up enough where it was easy to understand?
Having the experience of playing all those other games, it was super easy to pick up and play. A lot of the symbols are similar, those types of things. Just a couple questions here and there. Getting the concept of pulling the chaos chip.
Yeah.
That took a couple times for me to kind of understand. I was like, oh, I just passed the test because I have a higher skill, and it's like, nope, you still got to pull that chit. From the bag or the box or whatever, that chaos, and see what happens. So
why don't you go ahead and explain that then for someone who's listening?
So, like, when you're doing a skill check, you're going to have, your lore or your will or your combat or any of those things, and that's going to be a number, and when you fight or try to pass some other skill check, it's going to give you a number, and, hopefully you have a higher number than that, so you'll pass it, but you can have a lower. You can roll the dice on that, and just because you have a higher one doesn't mean you pass the skill check. You just you pull from what we have as a bag, and it has the chaos chits,
chaos tokens,
the chaos tokens, and they're numbered, and some of them give you a plus modifier, some of them give you a negative modifier, some of them give you just an instant lose, that type of thing. And so you're really hoping that that modifier is not going to be too great to where it
so you can modify some of your chance. So, like, for example, say your will is 4 and you're doing a skill check that's 3. So you're +1. So you're going to reach into that bag and hope for, at worst, a -1. And in the bag, there's the one we're playing, there's a -4, a -3, a couple -2s, and an auto fail. So if it's something that's super detrimental to the game, you have to modify that. And the way to do that is with your hand, each card has a symbol on it. So if the card has a will symbol on it, you can discard those cards to give +1 for each will symbol on the card. Now the downside to that is that once you use that card towards a skill test, it's going to be discarded afterwards. So you're not going to put that into play. You're going to lose the ability to play that card. So there's a lot of push and pull between, I have to pass this test. There's about there's a low chance that I may fail it, but if I do fail this, it's really going to be catastrophic. So I'm going to have to discard this card, and I really want to play this card, but I have to pass this. So you end up, sometimes you over buff your cards, but it's the chance of failure is too much, so you have to do it. So I really, really like that there's a lot of decisions, and there is a lot of teamwork in the game. So, I would tell you, hey, don't worry about that. I'll get that. You do this. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. A good plan can always be thwarted, especially in Arkham, in the Arkham universe. So I really like how skill checks are done. I like that when you work together, you can say, I'll deal with the monsters, you deal with this. And even though, like, you may not be great at dealing with monsters, there's cards in your deck that you can still mitigate those. So if you're not good at fighting, you better be good at evading, which you were. You were terrible at fighting, but you were great at evading. So you were able to evade a lot of the bigger monsters. That way I could come in, and then I would engage them, and then I would kill them. And we did really, really, really well. So that was really fun. I'm glad that you enjoyed that so much. And I'm really excited because the very first part of the campaign, it's called The Gathering. It's very, very simplistic, and it feels almost claustrophobic because you're in your investigator's house, and you go from room to room to room. So did you get that feeling of, like, being in a home, and going from hallway to...
The game feels like an amalgamation of the best parts from all the games that Fantasy Flight has put out under this the Cthulhu
umbrella of,
mythos.
yeah.
Just like, I can just see. I was like, oh, that kind of those little things look like they're from Eldritch, and that looks like it's from Elder Sign.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that, and it's like, but it's also. They did change things a little bit, and I'm happy for it. Just slight little things, little symbols, little things I had come to expect were not in there, and that's good because I
Right.
do want a different experience. And this one gave me such a different experience. It was so story driven, even more so than Mansions of Madness. Like sometimes when you get to the end of the story of Mansions of Madness, I was like, what really even happened?
Yeah, I understand.
And in this one, it feels epic. It feels really good, well written, and like this leads to this, and at points in the game I was like, so how do we win? What do we do? And it was like, well, that's part of the fun, is that you don't know. You
just trying to figure it out.
You just keep grinding through the story, and grinding is a bad word because I enjoyed every minute of it. You just keep plugging along.
Yeah.
It almost is like grinding because every round you got to pull that freaking encounter card, and I just hate that in these games. Like,
I know every round you would go
and doom.
Every round you would go, oh, because you would get ahead of yourself and you would be like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I was like, no, man, we got to draw the encounter cards. And you would go, oh. And I was just like, yep, they're
all
terrible.
Really bad. They're just like, yeah, some of these are really bad. It's like, no, they're all trash. Like,
yeah,
they're just all bad.
I know. A lot of times you're like, man, I hope I get a monster because the revelation cards are terrible. Like the one spawned 2 Doom, which made our agenda, the agenda deck trigger. So we're like, man, dang it. So I also like that each investigator has their own little story on the card, and they also have their weaknesses, which correspond with their story. So, I was using Roland, and he's a beat cop, and whenever the one weakness comes out, it's cover up. He's trying to cover something up. He's something terrible he's done, in the past. And yours was she was a street urchin, and all of a sudden, just everything's going great. She's getting clues, doing all this, and then all of a sudden, she just feels alone and scared, and she takes a bunch of mental damage, and you're like, "What the hell?" I was supposed to get a good card.
Fragile at that point, so it was touch and go.
And it always seems like this. So I've played this game a lot, and every time it feels like when things are going good, all of a sudden it just goes bad. And I've not had a game yet, but I'm sure it does happen where everything just goes catastrophically wrong, I'm sure that does happen because that's just sometimes what happens in these games. But I've yet to have it happen, luckily, knock on wood here. But every game's just been, honestly, I know it sounds stupid, it's been a treat. Like I've played this scenario multiple times and I've just enjoyed it every single time, And even though you play through these and you know what's going to happen because, the cards obviously can't change because they're physical cards, I still enjoy the joy of going through this and you have to role play a little bit, you're like, oh, okay, so we fell through, this happened, then all of a sudden there's this particular monster or cultist down there. Like, why is there a cultist there? And you come up with ideas, and you and I were kind of role playing ourselves. So it feels like to me a role playing card game, and I'm just in love with this game. I love it, and I'm excited because not only did you enjoy the very beginning, and it's a very claustrophobic experience. The next one is very much more open. You're gonna the second scenario is what really made me fall in love with this game, and I knew I wanted to really stick with this game, and I was going to spend money on it. So I'm hoping we have a good experience the second time that we come back, and not only that, we got a bunch of experience. So you're going to have the joy of getting to look through the cards and say, oh, I'm going to add this, and so you get to modify your deck and make the deck more your own, because I'll help you a little bit, but I want you to have the experience of building your own deck and making your own mistakes, and I'll make suggestions, but that's the fun of it. You like building decks. I mean, I think the favorite thing, the thing you most enjoyed about Legend of the Five Rings was deck building. Right. You were always tinkering with your deck, so that's great. I think you're going to really, really enjoy it. This is something that when we can't get a group of friends together, I built this big chest.
Who needs friends?
Yeah, we can just pop this
story.
up.
I got stories here.
Exactly. But I was going to say, I built this big chest here, and I organized everything so that when we upgrade our decks, we can look through and everything will be in order so that you can find what you need really, really quickly. So if you look online, you can get on, there's a Facebook group, and people make amazing custom chests where they organize everything They have all the rules in there. Everything's together. It's a really cool experience that not only did I do that with the chest, I did that with the tokens. I got these coin capsules that it actually gives some heft to the coins when you're pulling them out of the bag. They feel good
no,
as
that was
opposed
awesome.
to just cardboard,
Oh, I was very impressed with that. That was very cool. And it escapes me
That's
what
okay.
I was going to say.
This is
there.
Fighting Dirty Unplugged, so
It
that
is,
happens.
and it's after midnight, and it's late, and yada, 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 all
Right.
that. It was overall just amazing experience, so much fun. I look forward to playing this game.
Okay.
I had a lot of perceptions about this game, and I
Okay.
see that now. I didn't do a lot of research on this game. I was kind of like, another one.
Yeah.
You know, like I wasn't nearly as hyped when it was announced. I remember you being very hyped for this when it came out.
Yeah.
And now having played it, all that was unfounded and dumb. And I'm just like that at
That's
times
okay.
and very sometimes resistant to new things. As I
Yeah.
get older, it gets harder and harder, not to sound crotchety or anything like
Yeah.
that. But it was like, I was just resistant to it. And now having played it, it's like, oh gosh, it is so good and rewarding in such a different way. I love minis. I'm always impressed by minis in games, but they never make up for story. A good miniature can never make up for a good story in a game or good mechanics. That will always just power through. That will always rise to the top for me. And so this game, it doesn't need it because, like I said, the story is so good. The way the cards work off each other and play off each other. The way we were able to work with each other in the game. And I could see, we run through the scenario and be like, maybe Wendy's not the best character for this. You know, like maybe another character needs to be introduced because this combination's not working for this scenario. And that'll be a lot of fun. And having, an opportunity to look through all the cards and read through it, then they will open that. So overall, first impressions, blown away. Thank you for taking me through all that because it was a blast.
I'm just glad you finally did it. I really thought that you would enjoy it because I know that you loved Mansions of Madness, and I know you don't love Eldritch as much as I do, but you do enjoy the mythos and being in the H.P. Lovecraft universe. So when I played this game, I just knew, I was like, man, I think he's really going to like this. He loves all the aspects of this, the deck building, the decision making, the cooperative fun. And it's not only that, if we have another player who wants to hop in, if they've got cards, we can expand. I've got enough where I can do 2 very, very solid decks. I bought 2 cores, and then I bought everything else. When you start to add another player, it gets a little squirrely if you don't have other people putting in, the cards. So it gets difficult. It can be done. It's just one guy's not going to have the greatest of decks. We have 2 really good decks, So we're able to actually make meaningful decisions and actually get through a lot of the campaign where when I initially played it, you only get so many cards, and it was pretty tough because you don't have quite the deck that you need to do what you want to do. But I have everything we need, and I'm I think 1 pack behind right now, so I stay current with this. I love this game, and my goal is, I know you said before, and Wendy might not be who we need. My goal is to get through this core campaign, and then afterwards we just start new characters. You can carry them over if you like. But I would just like to start new characters and try something different, So when we go through Dunwich, we can just try something totally different, Alrighty, so that was Fighting Dirty Unplugged. We're going to try and do these whenever we play a new game, get a new impression. So we did this one because Matt had never played this before. I thought that he would, give good initial impressions, and I wanted to, capture his excitement of the game or disappointment with the game. So we're going to try and do these whenever we play a new game. I think we're going to do Civilization: A New Dawn maybe next time. We'll see what happens, but sorry for the ums and ahs. This is going to be unedited, and I hope the people that do play Arkham Horror LCG enjoyed our little write-up of this, or speak-up of it. So, alrighty, Matt. Take care.
All right, and please follow us on Twitter at Fighting_Dirty. We have a Facebook page, the Fighting Dirty podcast page. We're available on SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, all those places. Check us out. Thank you for listening to the first episode of the Fighting Dirty Unplugged podcast.
See ya.